Hello all, I am A Talking Sock, and I have a strange but unhelpable fixation on Nintendo IPs that can't catch a break and are obscure and or under-discussed as a result. Before the day comes that I buy the farm and St. Detergent tosses me into that big laundry hamper in the sky, I hope to cover as many as I can on this channel. And before the day comes that the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con drifts off into the river Thumbsticks, I want Nintendo to capitalize on its huge install base by reviving long-neglected series they own. There are more than a few games Nintendo have created/hold the license to that have never gotten a sequel of any kind. In this video, I will cover 10 games that fall under that category that would especially benefit from getting their first ever sequels on Nintendo's Toast of the Talk, or however that expression goes. Bear in mind too that I'm not talking about Mario Odyssey 2 or Luigi's Mansion 3 2. I mean games that make up the entirety of their respective franchises. Every Punch-Out game may be considered a variation of the first, but hey, there's still like 3 of them. The games on this list have never gotten any kind of sequel, period. With that out of the way, sit back and relax. Unless you're listening to this while jogging or something, in which case get pumped, because here we go! Number 10, Nintendo Badge Arcade. When the Switch launched, we saw it had user icons from across Nintendo's IP and a dedicated section for themes in the settings menu that only offered black and white. After 5 years of that being the extent of customization for the Switch menu, Nintendo has finally done something new with the introduction of more special user icons, backgrounds, and frames available in exchange for My Nintendo points that cycle out over time on a dedicated missions page for NSO members. Naturally, I hope themes come to this new feature soon. But you know what else would be really nifty for NSO members that could even entice people to upgrade to the expansion pass? A sequel to Nintendo Badge Arcade from 3DS. Also folders, but that's beside the point. The 3DS version of Badge Arcade granted players the ability to spend money, with occasional freebies every now and again, on coins exchanged for plays on a variety of Crane Machine games. Badges portraying Nintendo characters, items, etc. being the prizes. These badges could be used to decorate your 3DS home menu. You see where I'm going with this, right? Put the game on Switch, make My Nintendo points the new currency for it, maybe even offer some free plays or more machines at a time for Expansion Pass members. Boom! I've been advocating for Badge Arcade's return on Switch since I started this channel, and the timing has never felt more right than right now. Number 9, Mysterious Marasume Castle. It's funny actually. I thought this game was gonna get its very own Kid Icarus Uprising style revival last generation. The signs were all there. Even aside from Kid Icarus Uprising laying the groundwork for 1986 Famicom sister series getting revivals, Nintendo Land included a minigame called Takamaru's Ninja Castle. Takamaru made an appearance in Smash 4 as a pretty complex assist trophy, along with a nifty new medley of his home game's music and the soundtrack. Nintendo started its still flourishing partnership with Koei Tecmo around that time, and a couple of years beforehand they included an entire Marasume Castle side campaign in the Wii version of Samurai Warriors 3. And the original Famicom game was localized outside Japan for the first time exclusively on the 3DS eShop in 2015. Even as recently as 2019, there's this Marasume Castle sound effect block in Mario Maker 2 for Switch. So what gives? Why has Nintendo been giving so much notable attention to Marasume Castle for the past decade, but haven't given it a long overdue sequel? Perhaps they planned to at one point, but thought their resources would be better spent on safer franchises? We don't know for sure, but if that was the case, it oughtn't be anymore. Pretty much every Nintendo published game in the Switch era sells around 1 million copies or more regardless of obscurity or nicheness, so take the plunge, Nintendo! The timing couldn't be more perfect. Now that 3D Zelda has reinvented itself with Breath of the Wild, maybe this old Zelda sister series can fill the shoes of the old 3D Zelda formula. I mean really, this IP has been left dormant for so long it can absolutely go full Kid Icarus and adapt into whatever style it wants to now. Sky's the limit. Number 8, Nintendo Land. Hey, we were just talking about you. I'll get my coat. This Wii U pack-in title married the me-star and gimmick showcasery of Wii Sports with the universe-crossing celebration power of Smash Brothers. Truly a winning combo. Shame the console it was made for was so poorly marketed, among many other problems. Anywho, the unmatched asynchronous multiplayer and bite-sized score attack single-player fun of Nintendo Land shouldn't be left to rot on Nintendo's worst-selling home console. Sure, some might say hold off on bringing the series back until Nintendo's got 2 screens again, but here's the thing. Most, if not all of the original game's single-player modes could be played with/adapted for a single screen pretty easily, and as for the multiplayer, that's an experience that requires at least 1 more screen be present, ergo it encourages friends to bring over their own Switches to Switch-owning friends' parties to play it. When you think about it, it's more of a selling point than a hurdle. And of course, there's also the fact that this concept of a minigame compilation set in a Nintendo theme park doesn't need to include dual-screen gameplay anyway. So a sequel could forego the asynchronous stuff if it really came down to it. Either way, I'm of the opinion that Nintendo Land should open its gates once more on Switch. Number 7. Freaky Forms, Your Creations Alive. This early 3DS downloadable title, later granted a deluxe physical release, may look like a baby game for babies. In it, you create 2D plane inhabiting creatures called formies. With them, you explore areas, complete quests, and manipulate darn near everything and make it look like darn near anything. I actually think there is a great deal of potential in this game that could blossom into a more widely beloved series. And the Nintendo Switch, what with its broad appeal and diverse player base, would be the perfect place to start exploring that potential. Whether it's through a refined direct sequel or extreme evolution that brings this world into the third dimension, Freaky Forms deserves a sequel on the Switch. Number 6. Codename S.T.E.A.M. This game is such an odd duck. On one hand, it's a completely original and more accessible take on a tactical RPG, with a visually pleasing Silver Age comic book art style set in a steampunk alternate history world inhabited by 19th century literary characters fighting alien invaders, directed by the man behind the first 3 Paper Mario games. And on the other hand, it flopped. Hard. I seriously don't get it. How? Reviews for it didn't even seem especially harsh or anything, and it's not like the 3DS was running out of steam at the time. No pun intended. If anything, this game releasing in 2015 alongside such Nintendo darlings as Chibi Robo Ziplash, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, and Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival should have compelled Nintendo users to seek out its quality. Well, you know what? The fact that this diamond in the rough flopped so hard is all the more reason it should get a sequel on the Nintendo Switch. There's no shortage of interesting stories that can be told in this world and with these characters. I beg you, Nintendo, don't close the book on Codename S.T.E.A.M. Number 5. Mach Rider. An arcade/NES classic from Nintendo's early days, Mach Rider is a game where you play a renegade biker searching for survivors and defeating evildoers in the devastating future year 2112. Only 90 years to go. If there's one type of game that's all the rage these days that Nintendo simply doesn't do often enough, it's story-driven single-player games aimed at a mature or at least teen audience. The post-apocalyptic setup of Mach Rider would lend itself perfectly to something in the vein of a Sony-style cinematic experience. But then again, if Nintendo wanted to instead do something fun, they could partner with Platinum or a similar studio and do something action-y and set-piece heavy. And hey, if they stick with the arcade version of the game's Metroid-style The Dude Was a Lady twist and establish Mach Rider as a female protagonist, the gaming press would likely elevate coverage and snare at more sales and notoriety in the process. So what are you waiting for, Nintendo? Let's get Mach Rider revived on Switch, and let me ride into the sunset with the sensation of a vibrating turbo bike's motor cruising over a bumpy desert road through that sweet HD rumble. Number 4. Tin Star. Are you familiar with Tin Star? No? Well, are you familiar with Software Creations? Still no? Well, are you familiar with Plock? Welcome to Plock! Welcome to Plock! Welcome to Plock! Probably also no, huh? Well, here's the skinny. Software Creations was a very talented developer back in the day, and Nintendo published a game of theirs on the SNES called Tin Star. A Saturday morning cartoon-styled on-rails shooter starring a robot sheriff in a robot-inhabited Old West town who is tasked with stopping bandits, as cartoon robot sheriffs are apt to do. The game supported the standard SNES controller, the Super Scope, and the SNES mouse. At one time in history, the Wii Remote might have joined that list of compatible controllers, seeing as how the ESRB once listed the game as coming to the Wii Virtual Console. But that never happened, obviously. I mean, you would have heard about it, right? No? Okay. With Software Creations not being around anymore and Nintendo being Tin Star's publisher, they now hold the rights to this game and have final say in what gets done with it from here on out. But Nintendo, I implore you all the same, if you've got any teams with or around you who'd like to revive this charming world and its lovable cast, let them do it. Number 3. Ever Oasis and Tank Troopers. Kinda cheating putting these two games on the same spot on the list, but hey, my reasoning behind wanting them to get Switch sequels read almost exactly the same. Listen to this. This 3DS game released in 2017, so it was unfortunately overshadowed by the Switch. Which is a shame because it's a very polished and unique experience with some very notable industry talent behind it. I can't help but think that the original game would have sold better were it released on Switch. But hey, it's never too late for a port, or better yet, a sequel. There you see. I just saved us all some time by knocking these two out on this list at the same time. Let's move on.
Well, not really, because you counted them both as one.
Well, if I didn't do that, this would be a top 11 list, and I don't want a C&D from the Nostalgia Critic. Oh, Santa Christ, he's coming! Run! Run! Number 2. Eternal Darkness. If you know about this game, you know why it needs a sequel. If you don't know about this game, I would say I don't want to spoil it for you, but seeing as how this is a hearty 2-decade-old GameCube game, Whatever. It has a patented sanity meter mechanic wherein elements of not just the game world but the user interface and TV settings can appear to be not as they are the less sanity your character has. Obviously, this brilliant feature, on top of the fact Nintendo rarely make mature, let alone horror games, make Eternal Darkness a compelling candidate for a revival. But I think the Switch in particular would be such a perfect fit for it because A, the wide player base, and B, how simple yet effective creating the illusion of the game taking itself back to the home menu or displaying an error message and other stuff like that would be. Oh gosh, dare I even suggest the game emulate Joy-Con drift if your sanity meter's low enough? Woo, that's just evil. Before we get to number 1, here are some honorable mentions. Teleroboxer, a Nintendo IP stranded on the Virtual Boy. I don't think it needs a Switch revival as much as I think its characters should be included in a future Punch-Out or ARMS game or something, especially a VR one, which the Switch could do, but not too well. Mole-Mania, a Game Boy puzzle adventure classic that legitimately would really benefit from having 2 screens. How did it never get a DS sequel? Anyway, save this one for the Switch U or whenever Nintendo brings back dual-screen gameplay. Geist, the comparatively less interesting Nintendo-published M-rated GameCube game. I think it's unique enough, especially for a first-person shooter, to warrant reviving, but I don't think it's worthy enough of this top 10. Harmonite, a 3DS rhythm platformer by Game Freak. It totally deserves a sequel, but it can go on any platform, even phones, why not? Captain Rainbow, a Japan-exclusive one-hit wonder for the Wii from Skip Ltd. I love its concept of a washed-up hero helping forgotten Nintendo characters on a secluded island to pieces and would love a sequel or at least a localization, but it doesn't necessarily have to come Switch side. Either way, it's not on the list, but it got its honorable mention, so it's okay. Ice Climber. The potential for a Kid Icarus Uprising-style revival is limitless, but Marasume Castle had more to talk about on this list, and I didn't want to repeat myself too often. Diddy Kong Racing. I missed this game and all of its unique elements that put Mario Kart to shame dearly, but seeing as how the license is partially held by Microsoft and its concepts could easily be transferred over to future Mario Kart games, I left it off the list. Also, the DS remaster could be considered a sequel, so it doesn't technically qualify for the list anyway. Excitebots. Similarly to Diddy Kong Racing, it doesn't technically qualify for the list because it's a sequel to Excite Truck. But also, the game's developer Monster Games were bought out just this year by some company that milks NASCAR tie-ins out of them. Okay, alright, it's time for number 1. If you've been following me for a while, this shouldn't surprise you. Number 1 is... Fling Smash. This Wii Motion Plus showcase... you thought. Nah, I'm just messing with you. The real number 1 is... ARMS. I could gush about this game for hours. Don't be surprised if someday you find a multi-part series of videos later compiled into a 3-hour-long video essay about it from me in your sub box. If you'd like to know what specific things I'd like to see in a sequel, check out this video I did on the topic. But for this video right now, let me just justify why I want this game to come Switch side. A, because while I'm a buttons and sticks ARMS player myself, I think the thumbs-up grip method for the Joy-Cons is still a great setup, and who knows whether or not the next Nintendo system will have it. Plus, it's one of the few control methods for a Switch game that's totally drift-proof, so that's kinda cool. B, because the team behind it went 5 years without developing anything else to our knowledge, aside from Mario Kart 8 DLC tracks, which themselves appear to be port jobs from Tour. So considering the original game's data shows evidence of planned content that was scrapped, it'd be nice to think that the ARMS team took those ideas and got to work on a bigger, better sequel. C, the ARMS team have a whole lot more people eager for them to make a new console Mario Kart, which at this point is all but guaranteed to skip the Switch. If an ARMS 2 also has to skip the Switch, who knows how long it'll take to come out with a new Mario Kart that presumably adopts the modern Nintendo multiplayer content update rollout method taking precedent. I could probably say more, but I think I've made my position clear. I want ARMS 2. I want it bad. I want it to come to Switch. I want affordable living conditions within a reasonable distance from a troop-running playhouse looking for playwrights. I want extra mushrooms on my pizza. I want you to tell me what you thought about this list in the comments. I want you to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. I want you to like and subscribe if you didn't enjoy this video. I want you to like and subscribe if you think this outro is sloppy. I want you to get me medical attention immediately because I'm about to pass out.
Right then, suppose I've got to do the end slate.
Thank you ever so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And if you'd really like to support our creative endeavors more than YouTube ever will, consider pledging as little as $1 a month to patreon.com/atalkingsock, where you will get a credit at the end of our videos and behind the scenes updates regularly. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you the next time I see you. Yo, blimey, that was easy. Hey, I really should get a promotion, eh? Please, call me an ambulance. Alright, you're an ambulance. I'll see you tomorrow.